And former U.S. Trade Representative Rob Portman. And Senator, you've got, it's all politics are local. I know where you're from. We're from the same place. I know you care about Ohio, but as an American, you probably have some concern about what we are or are not doing to secure the southern border, and we're getting nowhere in Congress. Do you at least understand President Trump's frustration with what we're seeing on a daily basis down there, and that he's now conflating trade and security of the country? Does it make sense to you as a former trade rep?
Yeah, I totally share his frustration, Joe. And anybody that goes to the border, even sees any of the reports on the border, has to agree it's a crisis. And the problem is we have a broken asylum system, and It's too easy to work. I mean, those are the two big issues. And until we solve those two, we're not going to be able to stem this flow, I don't believe, because people are being told by traffickers, hey, we'll bring you to the United States. We're going to charge you a lot of money. And once you get in, you're in, and you can get a job. So Congress has to fix those two things, because the president can only do so much. And I support what he's doing in terms of the border enforcement, but that's not going to solve it if you just have hundreds of people coming over a day because of the magnet of the United States. So I agree with that. What concerns me, and as you mentioned Ohio, as you know, our biggest trading partners are Canada and Mexico by far. It's not China. We send a lot of agriculture and a lot of auto parts to Mexico. You don't want to not do this USMCA. That's a really important agreement. This is the new NAFTA, and it's right on the cusp right now. It's the president's top legislative priority, I was told a couple weeks ago, and I think he's endangering it by saying, okay, yeah, we negotiated this agreement on trade, but now we're going to raise tariffs, which is exactly the heart of the trade issue. So I think it's going to be tough. I mean, the day it goes to the Mexican Parliament to get ratified, we announced we might put these new tariffs on. So I hope we don't do it, because I think it's going to sidetrack it in Mexico. The agreement won't get ratified there, but also makes it tougher for us to do it here.
But the president would have to basically back down, in your view, because you don't believe Mexico can solve it on its own unless we change the asylum laws. So if they're not going to solve, if they're unable to solve it, not even just unwilling to, I mean, they're talking about it right now, then he's not going to be able to back down. He's going to want to put these on. It's going to happen unless Mexico does come up with something that's viable.
Yeah, Joe, I think there's a couple of nuances here. One is I think they can do more. If you talk to the experts, they'll tell you they think Mexico's doing more than they've ever done. And part of this is, they have a pilot program to say, okay, if somebody comes to a port of entry and claims asylum, they have to wait in Mexico, which makes a difference in terms of somebody wanting to come here because they aren't brought into the United States and allowed to go into the community. Mexico could do more of that. They're already doing it, but only on a pilot basis. Second, they could do more in terms of their own border, and we're working with them on that on the Guatemala border. But let's be honest, if people know they can make 10 to 20 times more coming to the United States, they'll figure out a way to get here. It may be by boat, over to the Florida coast, but it's a long, treacherous journey already, and people are willing to take it. So that's tough to rely on that. But they can do more, and maybe they will announce on Wednesday they're going to do more, and maybe we can avoid this. That would be good, because it allows us to focus on two things. One is USMCA, to get that done, which is a good agreement. It's going to create hundreds of thousands of jobs. It's great for the economy. We don't want to avoid doing that. But second, let's keep the focus on China. I mean, this is, you and I have talked before about having too many balls in the air. This, again, distracts us from where we would like the focus to be. And by the way, we want Mexico's help. We want Canada's help. We want Europe's help. We want Japan's help. We want everybody to help us in terms of putting pressure on China to do the right thing. Because what we're talking about with China, as you know, doesn't just affect us. It affects other countries as well, to force China to play by the rules.
So that's the way out there. Okay. You think that's possible? Wednesday, tomorrow we hear, all right, Mexico is going to do this, this, and this. Think that they're going to do a little bit more, as you called it, nuance. Then the president says, okay, that's a start, but we, again, need to put some pressure on Congress to change the asylum laws. You think you think that is going to be what happens, or do you think that they go on at 5% on Friday and go up to 25% later?
Well, I'm hoping for the former, Joe, because I think the latter doesn't make any sense. And I think actually what will happen is, if the tariffs do go into effect on Monday, which is the first 5%, I do think Congress is likely to have a vote, because the president is doing this under these International Economic Emergency Acts, the IEPA, which is going to require another vote of disapproval. You remember the vote of disapproval last time he invoked a national emergency with regard to the border fencing. Last time he lost in the disapproval, but then he vetoed it, and Congress was not able to override the veto. I don't know what would happen here, because last time it was about essentially shifting money from military construction funding that we'd already appropriated into the border, particularly into the fencing. This time it would be about imposing tariffs, which for a lot of Republicans, you know, it's a tax. It's a tax borne mostly by consumers, most people think, but it's a different kind of a question. So I don't know how that would come out. So I hope we don't go down that road. I think we need to avoid it. I think we can, and my hope is that's what will happen tomorrow.
Well, that's a good setup for what we see tomorrow, and if you're right, hopefully you'll come back and we'll talk about it at that point, Senator.
Excellent.
And Reds will still be 5 games below 500, just like they were last time we talked. Nothing
Hope springs eternal.
You know, staying 5 games below and not being 20 games below is something. If they've been playing 500 ball, I mean, but
yeah, we're doing a little better. Pitching is coming on, but got to get the bats going.
Yeah, got to get the bats going. Dodgers. Wow. All right. Thank you, Senator.
Thanks, Joe.
All right.
Take care.
See you around. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, coming up.